So we'll be starting with the forward jump. Yes, Shiv, we'll do it after class. Okay, remind me. So let's complete today's lesson and then we'll see your file. Okay. All right. So we'll be starting with the squirrel forward jump. That is our last exercise. Okay. So let's reference the character. So I'll just go to create reference, and that's it. Okay. So I'll make it a bit smaller, obviously. A little more small. So this is good. Uh, let's create a floor. So this will be a forward jump. That means that the squirrel will be jumping forward, right? So it will be covering a length. So the floor that I'll create, I'll make it longer like this. Okay. And I'll put it in a layer, set it to reference. Okay, that's done. So again, we will be hiding the tail so that we can focus on the body. Okay. So before I set this to reference, we need to make sure to align it with the body of the squirrel. So now it is properly on the surface. We can see the contacts and everything. Okay. So I'll put it slightly back. So this will be very similar to the ball jump, like the football jump, basically, the football bounce. It was going progressively forward. So exactly that way we will be doing it. And we will just do two simple jumps. Okay. First jump's height will be lesser. Second jump's height will be a little bit more, slightly more. And then we'll make the squirrel come to a stop. So we'll be anticipating it right before the jump. So for the ball, we had squashed the ball before the jump. Now here we will be squashing the body. We'll be pushing it forward. Along with that, we'll do one more thing. Have you guys seen how cats, like when they're preparing to, attack a cat, like any prey, whether it's a big cat or a small house cat, they always wiggle their hips a little bit. So they prepare their body to jump, right? So for the anticipation, I will be adding that. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it or not, but it's very common. Uh, there are lots of videos on Instagram. I'm sure everyone watches cat videos. Let me see if I can find a video. One second, just so that you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I just found a video. One second, let me share the screen. So you can see, look at this. Before they actually attack something, they do this. Okay, this little wiggle. So obviously our squirrel is not really attacking anything or not really going in any particular like it doesn't have a particular goal or anything that he wants to grab, but still for anticipation I will be doing a slight wiggle in the hip to make it look more attractive. Okay, you're free to do some other things if you want, but I will be doing this. So let's start with this. I'll push it slightly back. Now, obviously, we need plenty of frames to add our anticipation, right? So I have the controller selected, the root controller. I'll press S to lock it. And then I'll press S again at 20th frame. So I'm giving it initially 20 frames. And if required, we will obviously increase it. So while animating this, I will turn on editable motion trail so that when it lifts off, I can see the shapes and everything properly. So at around 26, like right after 5 or 6 frames, I think 5 frames will suffice for now. I will lift it up. You can see just a little bit of a height and it will also move forward. So you can see the character is now going forward and high, and at frame number 30, I'll bring it down and move it forward again. So the length is quite less right now, and the timing is very fast. Doesn't look right. And Don't worry about the shape. Obviously, we haven't adjusted the curves yet, so this is how it looks normally. So we don't have to worry about that. Right now, you can see the squirrel is definitely jumping high, but it's not covering enough distance in the forward axis, right? So I will move it forward first in 25th frame and then at the 30th. So you can see now the squirrel is actually moving forward, but this is happening very fast, right? It doesn't look right. So this is not good. We want it to be slower. So I will select the last two keyframes and I'll move them forward by 2 frames. And then I'll add 2 frames again over here. So basically, let me undo and show this again. See, our center frame was at 25. I am shifting it to 27. This one has 30. I'm shifting it to 31. So basically, I've just added. This one should be at 32 actually. And now you can see the timing is a little bit better, but still seems fast, right? But we cannot judge it completely perfectly because obviously the curves are not adjusted yet. So for now, I will keep it till here and we'll move forward. Then we'll come back and we'll edit the curves and then we'll adjust the timing again. Okay? Because this is something we're doing out of imagination. So we have to go back and forth and see if the timing is right or not. If you're not able to understand whether it's, right or wrong, you can ask people around you. You can show them, just play and show them and ask them whether it looks fast or whether it looks slow, or you can just share that video to me and I'll help you with it. Okay? It's important to sometimes work without references, like basically throughout the demo we've been working without references only. We've just used reference for the football bounce. The reason is that when you like with simple characters, when you don't use reference and you uh, try to rely on your own skills, it makes you understand how much of your observational skills are developed and how much you need to work on it. So it's really helpful. Okay. Anyway, so this first jump completed here, I again want to give some time in between. So at frame number 45, I'll press S to make sure that the squirrel stays on the ground for this many frames. We will increase or decrease the frames accordingly later on. Now, after this, I want to make it jump again. So as I said that the second jump should be higher, right? Initially, I had given 6 frames before keying it at the top. Now this time I'll give more frames because this will be a longer jump. Okay, so just slightly longer, not too long. You can see I just first moved it in translate Y and then in translate Z. And then I'll go forward again, same amount of frames, and I'll bring it back down and translate Y and move it forward. So, so right now this is happening. Okay. Now, before we judge anything, we first need to adjust the curves. Only then we'll have enough data in order to judge whether everything is right or wrong. So we're at translate Y, that's the thing that we need to first adjust. So I will select these base keys first and break their tangents. I'm not breaking the top tangent because we want to control it, right? And initially, obviously, the speed should be higher. So we make it steep. Don't make it steep like this. Okay. When you do that, then what happens? It goes straight up like this. The the forward movement seems to reduce when you like make it so steep. So make it a little bit steep on both the sides. And we want the squirrel to, stay a little bit at the top. So we do that. And let's do the second one. So we make that steep as well. And then at the top, we slow it down. So you can see initially the curves look like they hadn't changed, but if you slightly move it, they bounce back to the correct shape, the actual shape of the path. Otherwise, like if it is not bouncing back, then you can go ahead, delete the motion trail and create it again. The updated one will show up. Okay. I'll hide the motion trail. I don't want to see it right now. So I feel like the first one is quite fast. The second one seems to be a little bit slow. See? Yeah, it's a glitch, Soham. It's slightly slow. Probably in the newer versions, that glitch might not be there, but in 22, that glitch is there. So you can see the first bounce seems faster compared to the second one, right? So we need to slow down the first by 1 frame and increase the speed for the second bounce. So basically decrease the frame number for the second one. Let's try this. So it's good that we're only working with one controller because first we can be perfectly happy with the speed and everything, and then we can go on and do the anticipations and add everything, squash and stretch. So as I said, it seems fast to me. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll give it an extra frame here and an extra frame here. One more frame here. Let's see. So I think this is fine. Now this one is a little too slow, so I will take it one frame back. So if I play it now, okay, now I think the first one seems a little too slow. Let's take it back actually, and let's play it again. Because this last keyframe here, the 34, I had increased it by 2 frames. So taking it back seems to be fine. Okay. So this is the basic animation that we're adding. Now that is all that we'll be doing with the global controller. Okay. Now let's start with the squash and stretch and all the good things. So, so in the first frame, I will keep it neutral like this. So I'm selecting everything and I'll key it. Okay. Now after this, we want to show anticipation. I'll start with squashing it. So I'll do it in levels. So first I'll go ahead in the fifth frame. I'll squash it down in translate Y. So you can see I've squashed it down. I will move it forward in the Z axis. I'll also rotate it forward. So you can see it feels like the body is actually properly going forward, right? Because I've added rotation as well, right? That is done. Now I'll go forward a few frames more and I'll add another keyframe where I'm squashing it and I'm moving it forward. So basically, what this did, see, I added more movement from 1 to 5 and less movement from 5 to 10. So you can see the change in speed. It is faster in the beginning and slower after that. Same thing you can do with the curves as well. Now, the reason I did it manually was because I'm also translating it forward. I'm also adding rotation. So I decided that doing it manually with keyframes is much more better for me. So that's why I didn't use the curve to adjust the speed. I hope everyone can see the difference. See, from 1 to 5, a big movement is happening, right? So big movement is happening in a short time span. So this seems fast. Now from 5 to 10, a less amount of movement is happening and it is taking quite some time. So this seems slower. So when we play it, you can see initially it's fast and then it slows down. And you can actually continue this. You can go forward again, uh, 5 frames ahead, slightly bring it down. You can see I'm moving it even lesser than before. And I'll move it forward and I'll add more rotation. So you can see if I hit play, you can see it is going forward like this, faster in the beginning and slower towards the end. Okay. So if we check the curves, especially for translate Y, you can see like we could have done it with the help of adjusting the tangents. You can see initially the curve is steep and then it is flat. So like if I delete everything and recreate that, same thing will happen. Let me show you. If I delete these two in between keys and if I break the tangent, 1 second. Yeah. And here I'll keep it steep and here keeping it flat. So you can see, it's faster in the beginning and then slower towards the end. Okay. So Same thing you can do with curves as well. Now, same thing is there in translate Z. So you can see again in the beginning it's steep, then it's kind of flat. If we can recreate it by breaking the tangents, making this steeper and making this flatter. So same thing happened. See, again, faster in the beginning, slower towards the end. Now I have also rotated it in rotate X. So I can do the same thing. Oh, looks like between 5 and 10, I didn't add in any movement. So let's just get rid of this. So again, you want maximum rotation to happen at the fifth frame, right? Because that's where we're showing that the speed is the fastest. So I'll break the tangents. 1 second. Breaking the tangents, making it steeper here, and then making it flat. So, so you can see same thing. Okay. Faster in the beginning, slower towards the end. So just basically I repeated the same thing that I did with the keys. All right. So you can do whatever is easier for you. If you want to do it with, like if you want to do it manually, you can do it manually. If you want to do it with curves, you can do it with curves. Okay. I'll suggest you to do it with keys first, and then you recreate what I did. Delete the in-between keys and try to make the curve the same way. That way you will become even more familiar with curves. Okay. So I'll press S here so you can see how nicely it is going down. Now let's start adding a wiggle in the hip. So when the body presses down, like it starts to press down at fifth, I'll go to the fourth frame and I'll rotate it in the y-axis. I'm lifting it up towards this side first, and then I'll lift it towards the other side, and I'll keep doing that. So if we see it right now, you can see the wiggle. Now I've only rotated it. While this is happening, the upper body is going forward, right? We can exaggerate this movement, like this difference in the for like the upper body and the lower body by pushing the lower body backwards. The upper body is going forward, right? So we can push the lower body backwards. So I can go to the 16th frame here and push it back. So you can see while it wiggles, the body goes backward. Okay. And you can see it more clearly with the wireframe. Okay. So that's just a form of anticipation we've added. So here at 16, I'll just zero it out completely. Okay. And then the character jumps at 20. So what I'll do here is at 20, like from 16 to 20, there's no movement, right? So what I want to do is I'll select everything at 16th frame right now, and I'll go to 20. I'll go to 19, in fact. I'm not going at 20. I'll go to 19, and I will very slightly move the body down again. Why? Because it looks like no movement is happening, so it looks like a statue. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm creating a moving hold. In animation, we call it as a moving hold, where you want to add pauses in between, but you don't want the character to look like it's a robot or a statue, right? You want to add natural pauses. So the natural pauses are added by creating moving holds. So the movement happens, but at a very, very small amount. Okay. So definitely the body was like, coming down throughout. So I'll go at 19. I'll very slightly, very subtly move it downward and move it forward. So you can see very small amount of movement is happening. So it doesn't look like the body is stopped. Okay. You can increase this amount if you want to feel it a bit more when you're playing it. Okay. So that's up to you if you want to increase it. Now for the lower body, I will push it slightly back again. So you can see it continues to move before it jumps off. Okay, so now we've created a successful moving hold. And I'll select everything and I'll key it. Now you can see basically the body jumps after 20th, right? So we want it to stretch. So we can go ahead here at 20th and we can stretch it out. So, so you can see it's like this. It really just jumps off because we haven't given it enough space. So it is squashed here and then it is suddenly stretched out and then it goes off the ground. So to make it better, what you can do is the moving hold that we added at 19th, we can actually shift it to frame number 18th. So now what happens? We get a transition before the stretch. So the squash happens at 18th and I give a transition. Instead of putting it at 19th, I am just putting it at 18th and then we have a transition. Okay. All right. So you can see it is stretching out. Sadakar, what do you mean by bottom controller? I'm using both top and bottom to animate them. So I'm not sure what you mean. Okay, so you can see from squash, it is stretched out, right? And I'm going to select everything and I'll key it like this. You want me to stretch this out so that intersection happens. If I stretch it out, it will intersect, right? There's no point in doing that. Makes no sense. Always use a floor for this reason, so that you can see what you're doing. Okay, so it is stretched out here. All right. Now, the highest point in this jump is 27. So we want to squash it. All right. So I'm going to bring it down and like I'll just go to all the values here in the channel box and I'll zero them out. And then I will bring it down a little bit more and I'll rotate it backwards like this. So you can see it looks like the squirrel is looking a little bit higher like this. Okay. And I'll take the lower controller and I'll squash it. And let me turn on motion trail. See, this is how the body is. Now, when we're at a height, when we're falling down, the lower body obviously reaches first, right? Same logic applies that we've applied to the ball, right? So what we can do here is we can take the lower body and we can move it forward like this and rotate it like this. So it looks like the legs, the imaginary legs of the squirrel are, reacting to reach to the ground faster. So it is, you can see, squashed and closer to the body and also rotated in this direction. So it follows the arc. Okay. So it goes like this. You can see just this much only is looking pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. All right. So now for the balance here, like at the point of impact, we obviously want to remove the rotation that we've added and remove the translate Y. And you can see the body is slightly forward here in translate Z, and that's exactly what we need because as we uh, stretch out the upper half, let me stretch it out. You can see it is stretched out here. Let's also tilt it back. When it squashes, I will be taking this backward and forward, just like how we did it for the vertical jump. So don't be confused, I'll show you. So let me squash the body a little less over here. So this is how it is. Okay. And now we want to squash it, right? So here it is stretched out again because obviously it reaches the ground. Let me hide the motion trail so that we can select everything and key them together. And now we want to squash it, right? Because it is stretched out. Let's go forward a few frames and let's squash the body. Let's also move it forward and rotate it. So you can see it is squashed. It is going forward. And the Lower body goes backward. So you can see it slides like this. Okay. Just translate it backward. So there is asymmetry in the upper and lower body. When at 34, the upper body was at the back, the lower body was at the front. Now, when the upper body is at the front, the lower body is at the back. So you can see the change in movement. I'll select everything and key it again. So stretch, squash, and now we want to dampen it. So same thing we'll do that we've done with the vertical jump. So obviously it will go up. So squash, stretch, stretch, squash, stretch, squash again. Okay, so I feel like the amount of time here that we have for the squash and stretch is very less. See, the second jump is happening very fast. So I'll take the global controller. This is this was our stopping period from 37 to 45. I want to increase it. So I will select these three keyframes and I'll move them forward. So I have given few extra frames now. Okay. Is this clear to everyone what I did here? Basically, the keys were starting from 45. So we were having less time for the squash and stretch to happen more organically. So this is why I'm increasing it and I'm giving 5 extra frames. Okay, so now we have enough time to properly squash and stretch it and then anticipate it again before the second jump. Okay. Open Raj, I usually block, like I don't actually block it. I do it in the spline only. So I'm actually, whenever I'm creating any animation, I'm doing the contact poses and everything, but I don't block them. I keep the spline on. The reason for that is if we keep it off, many times we can get into gimbal lock issues. So if gimbal lock is happening, we want to keep it in a way so that we can see it. So when you're in the spline mode, you can actually see the movement happen in between and then you can fix the gimbal lock. Okay. In studios also, it's up to you. No one will come and tell you to do it in a certain way. They just care about the results. It doesn't matter what approach you take. So whether you keeping it spline, whether you keep it block, that's up to you. There's no rule for it. It's just a preference thing. Okay. Why would they care about this? Because see, they only care about the result, right? You should just be able to do the animation nicely. That's the only requirement. How you do it, that's not their headache. Okay. All right. So stretch, squash, stretch, squash, and then I stretch it again. So you can see we've added this dampening and I moved it forward at 37, then I didn't move it back. Let's move it back at 43. So you can see the body goes back at 43. Now you must be thinking, why didn't I do it at 40? See, here there's a lot of force from 34 to 37. So it is just jumping forward really quickly to frame number 37. So if I go to 40 and bring it back, it will look very chaotic. See how it looks? Very fast, right? Very chaotic. I don't like that. I don't want it to be chaotic. So what I do instead is I pull it back at frame number 43. That way it looks much better. Okay. So that's what I like. Now it's your preference. If you want to do it in some other way, you're free to attempt it. Okay. It's still, yeah, it is still snappy. What I've done also, it's still snappy, but less than before. It's not looking like some jerk is happening. But if we do it very quickly, then it definitely looks like some sort of jerk is happening because the speed is so fast. Okay. I'll also add rotation here, like when I moved it forward, I rotated it forward. So when it's going back here, I'm going to rotate it backward. And at 46, I'll slightly rotate it forward. So you can see very small amount of forward and backward movement I added. It's not even visible, but it can be felt. Okay. So I'm going to select everything and wait, we haven't animated the lower part. Let's do that also. See, here it was forward at 34, then we pushed it back at 37. It needs to go forward again. So I move it forward at 41. That's it. So you can see very small movement I added. Look how nice it looks. It goes back and then it comes forward. So nice and snappy if you just look at the base, the controller. Okay. So that's it. I'll select everything and I will key it all at frame number 46. Okay. All right. No, there is rotation here. See, look at the channel box values. No, of course, I had only translated it. We don't have to rotate the lower controller all the time. Here I rotated it because it's wiggling side to side. Here I didn't like rotate it. If you want, you can rotate it. That's fine. You can also do the translation. That is also okay. It should just look good. That's the main point. So you just need to understand that. Okay, I'm keying everything at 46. And now you can see the character jumps off at 52. So now we need to give a slight anticipation. So what I'll do here is till frame number 48, I'm going to select everything and I'll key it. So for 2 frames, nothing is happening. So obviously it shouldn't look like a statue. So I'll very slightly just move it forward. So you can see just slightly it is moving forward. Nothing else is happening. Okay. Now what we'll do, we know that at 52 it jumps off. So at 51, I will anticipate it. So this will be a simple anticipation. See here initially the squirrel had enough time to do a very longer anticipation. Now in this case, we're just doing a very short anticipation. Okay. Uh, I feel like we can add some more frames like this anticipation that I'm doing here from 48 to 51. Maybe I can shift it to 52. So that way it will be a little bit longer. The only problem is right after this it jumps off. Now remember that we want 2 extra frames to stretch it out. See, let me show you what we did here. At the back, the body was squashed at 18th. We gave 2 extra frames while the squirrel was on the ground and then we stretched it out. So same thing I want to do here as well. So how do we do that? I'll select the global controller and I need to add 2 extra frames. So the frame which is at 52, it should be at 54. So I'll select everything and I'll shift it by 2 frames. So it is now shifted and now the squirrel goes down and still it's quite fast only, but that's okay. I don't want it to be too slow. So I'll just let it be for now and then I'll go to 54 while squirrel is still on the ground and I'll stretch it out. Okay. So it's squashed, then it's stretched and moving it forward as well and rotating it forward as well. So the transition is happening and here you can take the lower controller and push it back. But see, I don't have any key at 52 like I had in the upper controller. So make sure to add a stopping key at 52 if you're not moving anything. Okay, then at 54, I'll slightly move it back. So you can see it slightly moves back. You can see the effect. You can move it more if you want. So you see more of a movement. So as the upper body goes forward, the lower body goes backward. Okay. And then I'll select everything and I'll key it. And then at the top, at the highest point at 61, I will zero everything out in the upper controller, squash it down and rotate it. So it is squashed. I don't want to squash it too much. I basically want to use the lower controller more for the squash. So I'm pushing it up and I'll rotate it in the same manner to make sure that it follows the slope while it is coming down. So I'm rotating it like this. Okay, and I'll select everything and I'll key it. Then at the ground, Let's remove all the values here and zero it out. So it falls like this, but remember that when it is landing, we want the lower body to be forward. Okay, so it is a little bit forward and the upper body is stretched and backward and rotated backwards like this as well. I don't want to stretch it too much. So let's see. Let's now squash it. So I'll select everything and I'll key it. And then I'll go ahead and squash it. Moving it forward, rotating it forward. So you can see now this is where the squirrel will completely stop. So if you want, you can take a lot of time for the squash and stretch. Okay, so that's up to you. So I'm giving it 4 frames here, and the lower body will go back at this point. So you can see it is heading back. And then I'll go to the upper controller and we just want to dampen it. So stretch, squash, stretch, squash, and stretch again. Okay. To make things easier, you can actually copy the squash and stretch from here as well. The one that we did here, you can copy those keyframes and actually paste them here. Okay. So that is also something that you can try, but I just don't want to confuse everyone. So just do it normally so that you won't make any mistakes. So you can see it is squashing and stretching, and definitely the body has to go back. So I'll push it back at 79. So I'm taking it too much at the back. Okay, the problem is that I have moved it too much forward at 72. So I'll reduce it a little bit. Now that's better. Now the thing is, now that we're completely stopping it, right? It will not continue to jump after this. So when I take it back, I can also take it forward after this. So basically a dampening of backward and forward movement. So I'll actually do it at 82 itself. So see, at 72 it's back, at 79, sorry, at 72 it's forward, at 79 it's back, at 82 I'll very slightly move it forward. So you can see if I go back and forth, very little amount of movement is there. Okay. So now you can ease it down a little bit more. So stretch, squash, stretch. You can stretch it out more if you want to keep this happen for a little bit longer. So you can see it is stopping very quickly. You can keep it continued for some more time. So squash, stretch. Here it is squashing. Here it is stretching out. You can add another frame here for the squash. So you can see very slight movement happens. Okay. So you can add that and you can also edit the previous values to increase the amount of movement. Okay. Okay, this last one is a little too much. Let me delete that. So I'll just add another very little. It should not be even visible, and that's better. Previously, it was a little too much. Now it is very subtle. You can see if I go back and forth, you can see the change. 82, 85. Okay. Okay. So this is how it is. Okay, I feel like here the squirrel's upper body is snapping back a little too quickly. And basically, big movement is happening from 37 to 43 in the forward axis. So what I'll do here is at 37, I'll reduce the z-axis movement. So it is forward, it is backward, and at 46, I'll move it forward again. So just small amount of dampening. That's much better. Okay. So you can see the squirrel looks so alive. Now you can continue making it smoother and adding more breakdowns if you want. Okay. And obviously, we haven't really animated the tummy. So the tummy will also be animated here. So because I didn't really move the tummy throughout, I just, because I was selecting everything, we got keys here. So they will cause problems for us if we try moving the controller now, animating the controller now. So what I'll do here is I'll just select all these unnecessary keys and I'll delete them. So now we don't have any animation in the tummy, and now you can continue uh, moving it. Okay. So when the body comes down, you can actually move it a little bit higher. Okay. So it goes high, and then here it goes a little bit more high, and then here it should be in the center, and then at the point of impact, high again. It should happen at 37, so you can see it is going high. And when the body goes up, the tummy goes down, and it keeps wiggling up and down for a few frames. So just a little movement I've added. You can definitely increase it. So if you want to increase it, move it down further so we see more movement. Let me hide the controller so you can see it's up, it's down, it's up again, it's down again. Then you move it up once again. So you can see, okay. So mostly the body is very squashed only. So too much of wiggle is not visible, but whatever we've added, it's now visible. You can see the controller moving up and down. Okay. So same way you can do for the full thing. And then we have the ears. Let's do the same thing for the ears, keeping them neutral here. When the body is, going forward, I want to pull the ears backward. Okay, so they're going back and they go even more back at the time of the stretch. Okay, and then here they go a little bit centered, and then at landing, they go back again. And when the body is forward, we don't want to do it right then. We want to delay it. So we do it at frame number 40. So it goes forward, backward, backward, forward, and backward again. So you can see slight movement. Now you can definitely exaggerate it if you want. So it's really back here. You can move it more forward, more backward, and so on. So that's up to you how much you want it to move. Okay, so you can see it is very snappy now. And then again, the body is going forward. So we'll push the ears backward. And then at the high point, they're neutral, a little centered. Then at the jump, they're back again and then forward, backward, forward, and backward again. Okay. And now you can take one controller and just delay it by 1 frame or 2 frames, whatever works. Okay. You can also go ahead and take this upper controller and animate that just like how we did for the uh, vertical squirrel. So initially you can like keep it open if you want, and when the body presses down, like you can close it. So you can see initially it's opened and then it closes, and you can keep on pressing it down. So you can see we just exaggerated this movement. Let me undo and show it how it was before. See, it is just pressing down. Now we can exaggerate it by keeping it open in the beginning. Then I close it and then I press it down even further. So you can see it looks so much more alive now because we can see that part moving, right? So it looks nice. And then at the point of jump again, you can open the mouth. Like you can see, I haven't added a stopping key, so it has caused a small problem. You can see till here, the like this was stretched downwards. I mean, pushed downwards, right? And then I've added another key where the mouth is open. I haven't added any stopping key, so you can see the continuous change. See, the upper controller starts to go up before. Why? Because we haven't added a stopping key. There's just one key here and another key over here. So if you want the squirrel's head to stay down when it is on the ground, you need to put a stopping key. So you can see the body is squashed till frame number 18. So that is where I'll press S and lock it. So we've pushed a stop, like we've put a stopping key here. And then at the stretch, we can open the head. So you can see it's opened up. You can open it more if you want. And then over here, when the body is squashed, you can close it. And then at the stretch, you can open it again and then close it. And then just do up and down movement. Okay. So just a subtle movement. So it makes our character look a little bit more alive. Okay. I'll translate it back in the Z axis. So, and I also want to make sure that it is like everything is zeroed out in translation at frame number 45. So you can see the mouth closes all the way. So that looks good. A little bit of dampening happens and then it closes completely. And then it should remain closed till it is squashed, right? So I'm just going to put a key here again. And when it is stretched out, I can open it again and then squash it again, opening it once more, bring it down, bring it up. One second. Bringing it down a little more and then bringing it back up and down again completely. Okay. Now I closed it very quickly. You can continue moving it. Still, it looks good only. So our animation stops at frame number 79. Okay. All right. Any confusions in this? Is everything clear? Are the concepts clear? Okay. All right. Okay, then now we're done with the full body. We'll start with the tail, not today, tomorrow. So tomorrow will be the last class. We'll be doing the tail tomorrow. So let me save the file. One second. Okay. All right, I'll stop the recording.